Welcome to day 2 for Cloudways celebrating 20 years of WordPress. I don't know if any of you have also been part of WordPress for 20 years. I have not been in WordPress for 20 years myself, 11 years for me, which has been an exciting 11 years for sure. But I'm here today with some amazing women in WordPress to talk about women in WordPress and what our different journeys have been and what our hopes and desires are for WordPress. I'm here with Laura Nelson, Milana Cap, and Afshana Diya, and it's so good to see you all here. We're literally all over the world meeting today to talk about this. So I would love to go around and just have you introduce yourself briefly, what you do with WordPress, and tell us where in the world you are broadcasting from today. Laura, I'm going to start with you since you were the first one in the room.
Sure. Hello, my name is Laura. I work for WooCommerce as a content marketer, and I am here from Brighton in the southeast of England in the UK.
It's so good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for
Afshana.
having me.
Of course. And where are you and what
Hey,
do you do,
hi.
Afshana?
Hi, this is Afshana. So I'm from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I work with WP Developer as CMO, and I'm also a community deputy for Make WordPress. I'm contributing for WordPress for almost 10 years now. So yeah.
It's good to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Milana, over to you.
I'm based in Novi Sad, Serbia, the most beautiful city in the world, and I'm a WordPress engineer at XWP, and contributing to WordPress documentation for 13 years now.
And everybody who's ever been to a contributor day with Milana knows she's the woman with the cookies.
Yeah, I'm cookie provider, and we call it distributor day.
Distributor day. I at contributor days, I am usually table lead for photos, and wish that I could abandon my own table to come help you with documentation just for your cookies. So.
Nice. Yeah.
We'll see what happens at WordCamp Europe. And it's exciting that all of us will be at WordCamp Europe, so it'll be so good to see you in person. So some of the questions that I wanted to talk about today, so working as women in WordPress has been perhaps a different journey than our male counterparts in WordPress. And sometimes people think it's silly that we think that our journeys might be different or even more difficult. But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that and what's brought us into WordPress and into technology. So my first question to all of us is, I actually forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Michelle Frechette. I work for Stellar WP and Post Status, and I contribute to photos and community and in the Make WordPress space. So in case you didn't know me. But what has inspired you to pursue a career in WordPress? What brought you into WordPress, and what was perhaps your most challenging hurdle to getting into the position that you are today? Who would like to go first?
Okay,
Milana?
I can go first.
Oh, Afshana. Yes, Afshana, please.
My journey started back in 2012 when I was in my undergrad. I used to write a lot about technology and other stuffs, but I had no idea about WordPress. I started my blogging on WordPress. I was doing my undergrad in digital marketing and other part of marketing. So when I completed my undergrad, I wanted to combine digital marketing and also tech in somewhere. That's how I got into the WordPress industry.
And have you found anything difficult being a woman in WordPress that you maybe had to overcome?
Yeah, that's a lot because I'm living in other part of the world, in Southeast Asia, where the percentage of female in whole tech industry is very low comparing other part of the world. So my journey started with a very, very shaken way, In my first company, I was the only female employee. And then when we started a WP developer, I started to hiring more female employees for the company. In our first WordCamp in Dhaka 2019, I was the only female organizer. there will be a lot of things that I did where I was the only female or the first female
Mm-hmm.
in my space. So yeah, that's automatically makes it more difficult. But right now, it's changing a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think it changes where we are based on the people who are willing to be the first. So, on behalf of
Yes.
other
Yes.
women, thank you for being the first to help in your area for sure.
Yeah.
Milana and Laura, who would like to? Milana?
Yeah, sure. So I wasn't actually inspired to pursue a career. I was classical musician. I was doing fine, loving my job, but then my paycheck cut a few times, and I was already doing, making websites. Basically, PHP was very interesting to me, and I like to do that in my free time. I never thought I would be a developer. So my biggest challenge actually was uh, to overcome that. I am I didn't dare to call myself developer for a long time, even though when I was freelancing for 5 years and making money of that, I still didn't call myself developer, and that was my biggest challenge. As for number of women and women's situation in Serbia, I have to say we have to consider geographically different situations. So as we have a different diversity situations all over the world, uh,
Mm-hmm.
different groups are considered minority depending on where you are in the world. Also, the situation for women are different. So in Serbia, I was in a company that I started working. I was the only female, but there were 10 of us, and I was the only back end developer. They were designers and and front end developers. Um, and yes, we see less women in back end positions, but then again, I never had any challenges in that way that I wasn't considered expert on my field. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have that in Serbia because um, we had communism. We fought for our equality. Nobody's thinking that that I know less, or doors are not closed for me. My paycheck is not less. So we don't have that. We just maybe don't have enough interest or from females to do
Mm-hmm.
that. We have a lot of females doing front end design, marketing, back end, not that much, but it's not because somebody's stopping them. Maybe they don't see enough examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I saw that when I was giving my first workshop, free workshop for community here for developing teams. I noticed that 80 people applied, and over 50 were female, and I'm sure it was because I'm female. But again, that is because they see example. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I have to stress that we don't have here that kind of inequality that somebody's stopping someone. It's just
Mm.
what you are interested in.
That's wonderful. It's good to hear, actually,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
good, like Afshana said, to be the example that other people see. Oh, I could consider that as an option
Yes,
and as a
yes.
career.
Yeah.
So what I see so far is two trailblazers, two women who are willing to say, "I want to do that," and inspire
Mhm.
other people. So appreciate you. Laura, what's your story?
Yeah, sure. I probably entered the world of WordPress by accident. To be honest, it wasn't a conscious decision. I had used WordPress at university. I used to run a blog on video games, and then when I went up following university, I really wanted to be a writer, and so I was applying to sort of digital marketing roles. And my experience running that blog helped me get my first role, which happened to be an agency that focused on WordPress. They didn't necessarily market themselves as a WordPress agency. It wasn't like it was a very tiny one. There was only like four of us, but that is the primary platform that we use, and it kind of all started from there. And I just sort of ended up working in house for a brand that only used WordPress, and then for a bigger agency, and then finally into product. Um, But I would say it's probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years into my career when I discovered the WordPress community, and from then on, it was probably more of a conscious decision to continue working in that field because of the awesome people I met, really. In terms of challenges, I think it's always been a constant struggle not to be seen as like the assistant, or like the amount of times I've been the one asked to, when it was back in real life and in an office, the one to go and make drinks for everybody in a meeting. Like, it was almost, the men would never get that, or you'd always be the one to be assumed to be the note taker for something like that. It's just, and that's constantly happened. And I think it's only as I feel like grown to be more confident and possibly more experienced, and that I've had, I've called it out, or I've just said, no, I'm not going to do that. You can do it instead. So yeah, I'd say that's probably been the main, and the usual stuff, like men getting more opportunities to further their career than women did. That's been an ongoing problem. Where places I've worked in general in the UK, I'd say.
I started very similarly. I happened into WordPress because I was working for 25 years in higher education, nothing with web. And I decided I needed to leave the field, the work that I was doing at the particular time. And I had started a nonprofit with a friend, and her husband built the website for us. And we started to send him the content. And he said, no, I don't have time to put the content on. Here's your login. And so I started to learn WordPress simply by building the content into that site. And then I was like, oh, I could build websites and maybe make some money on the side. And that was basically my foray in. And my biggest challenge wasn't put out by other people, it was internal, because I went to my first meetup and I was the only woman in the room, and I was like fresh user, just learned how to log in and put in content. And it was a developer heavy meetup that day, and they were talking about, now it's funny, I laugh, like I know CSS now, but at the time I was like, what is CSS? And and they were talking about hosting on DigitalOcean, and I was like, I don't even understand Bluehost. I don't, kind of thing, like where it's easy for you to do. So I took myself out of that meetup, and I was like, I'm never going back to one of those again, which of course is not the way that things worked out eventually. But it was my own fear of not being seen as an equal in the community that stopped me at the beginning. Clearly I overcame it, which is good too. But I seriously don't think of myself as the trailblazers and change agents that you all have been, which has been pretty cool to see that you've inspired so many other women. And I hope that I can continue to do some of the work that you all have begun, which is pretty cool. So thank you, of course, for all the work that you've done. Have you, in the time that you've been working in WordPress, seen a change for women? What would you say is some of the bigger things that have caused change in the community where women feel either more empowered or see this as a, in Milana, in your case, maybe see it as more of an opportunity for jobs? What do you think has changed, let's say, in the last 10 years that WordPress has been around to make it easier for women to have not only be able to find a career, but have roles of authority and leadership? Whoever wants to start.
I'm happy to. Yeah.
Great.
I think like digital communities have really helped, or they've helped me personally. Going to meetups and being the only woman there is really frustrating, but also just knowing that there are other women out there in this field, that they do exist and they're doing incredible work, has been really inspiring. So I think that's really helped, and I think a lot of women have owned their voice, and it's been great to see. That's been a huge change in recent times, as well as initiatives like, I'm going to say, the 5.6 release. That's the first time, despite working with WordPress for so long, that is the first time I even went close to it, and I was part of the release squad, and it was an amazing experience. Before that, I never would have dreamed of getting involved with something like that. So those sort of initiatives are really helping.
Yes, I agree, for sure. Afshana, do you have anything to add? Oh, I think we have some connection issues. How about Milana? Do you have anything to add to?
Well, I have noticed in my local community, I've noticed that uh, we have more women, and they are open to different positions. Uh, but I think what really helped that uh, is all those meetups that we have, not just for WordPress community. We have in Serbia very, very vibrant IT community in all fields, like PHP community and just general JavaScript community. So a lot of attention is moving to IT jobs in general, because in Serbia that's probably the only way you can live normally, and IT and politics, and nobody
Mhm.
wants to do politics. So yeah, we have a lot of changes there. And just recently, like less than a month ago, I was speaking at a conference, local conference here, which is just globally IT conference, about getting a good job from contributing to open source. And there were like students, and a lot of them were female. So I think just these events that are happening, that you can find out uh, all the other uh, things you can do in IT. That you don't have to be a developer. But I'm really not happy with that we kind of emphasize that you don't have to be a developer. Well, maybe they want to be a developer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of assuming that you don't want to be developer,
Yeah.
or that it's too difficult for you or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like that idea. That's why I don't like really much talking about this. I like showing them that I do
Mm-hmm.
backend. And so, if I can do it and I'm a musician, anybody can do it. So
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Afshana, I think we have you back.
I'm totally agreed with Milana that instead of so much talking, doing and showing works better.
Mm-hmm.
So for Bangladesh, the IT community is just growing, just growing. So when I was talking about 2019 or 18, at that time we had hard period to have even attendee as a in our meetup or WordCamp. In our first WordCamp in Dhaka back in 2019, we had a very hard time to find one speaker, one female speaker. Can you
Mm-hmm.
understand? So,
Yes.
but after that WordCamp, we had one female speaker, just one, and we had I think 20 or 30 uh, female attendees out of 700 attendees. Okay,
Wow.
so uh, but it happens because in our country, I see a lot of females are doing undergrad in CSE and other tech field, but they don't get to the work, or maybe after a few years they just drop out.
Mm.
After a while, what happened is like since tech industry is growing, so a lot of female started working in companies like WP Developer or other companies as well.
Mm-hmm.
So now, for example, in WP Developer right now we have 25% plus female employees.
Mm.
So they are seeing what we are doing, right? So they are getting inspired to join meetups, WordCamps. In this year in WordCamp Asia, I think over 30 people, 30 female joined from Bangladesh.
That's
So
wonderful.
that's a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
Right now in WordCamp Silet, I think there was more than 70, 80 female, or probably more than 100 female attended the WordCamp. They made the effort to go to another city to attend WordCamp to contribute to learn more about WordPress, and probably after this WordCamp series, a lot of people are inspired to start contributing for WordPress.
I
So
love it.
that's how the scenery is changing in these days, and I'm so happy to be part of this community.
I love it. That's wonderful. And I think you're right. People see women working in WordPress and they say, huh, that could be a career for me. And even as a developer, Milana, not you don't
Yeah,
have to be a developer.
yeah, yeah.
For sure. Before we get to our next question, I do want to talk to our audience a little bit because Cloudways is doing a giveaway. So the question for the giveaway, and you can answer in the chat. The question for the giveaway is: in what year was WordPress initially released? And the winner will be announced this week. Will get $100 in hosting credits. So if you know the answer to that, you can go ahead and comment it, and then Cloudways is paying attention, and they will be selecting a winner this week. So I want to make sure that I didn't forget to mention that because that's a pretty great giveaway. I'm going to we I had a lot of questions posed, but I'm going to skip ahead to wanting to know about any particular achievements or milestones in your career that you're especially proud of, in WordPress or in technology, and just tell us just a little bit about what that achievement was for you, and where it might go. And I know Laura, you had mentioned that you had something you wanted to talk about on this too, so I'm going to go to you first.
Sure, and it stems like on really nicely from Asana's point just then. So I organised WordCamp Brighton in 2018, I think, and we achieved a 60-40 women to men speaker diversity ratio, and that was from sometimes being the only woman in the room at a WordPress meetup to then be able to put on a WordCamp with that level of female representation was just possibly the best thing I've ever done.
I love it.
And
very inspiring me to do better in my meetups and my WordCamps.
It's totally possible. I mean, obviously the geographical location plays a huge part of this, and I'm
Absolutely.
very, very aware of that. But also we, as you know, Michelle, with your amazing site for women in WordPress speakers, it's totally possible to do. There are people out there willing to speak and have great topics to speak about. But sometimes you might just need to let them know a bit more explicitly that they're welcome in your space, because it's not often clear. And unless some like the organizing teams behind these things, you often don't really see them. So unless you're making it well known that actually, no, this is a really safe and inclusive space that you can be a part of too. There are people like you on this team, then yeah, that's the way to get more to get more people to apply to speak, and invite them to speak as well. Invite them to apply. That's a big part of it too.
I agree, absolutely. Afshana, Milana, what's one of your major accomplishments that you'd like to point out?
For me, I think I joined the team of Release Squad back in 2020. It was WordPress Major Release 5.6, which was all female lead. So I really glad to join that team and contribute for that version specifically. I contributed for a few different versions later on, but that one was so special for me.
Absolutely. I was part of that as well on the marketing team, and it felt very groundbreaking for sure. Milana, what is yours?
Well, for me, I don't. I was just listening to everyone here saying, and I was trying to think about what is that achievement relating to female. Um, I don't know. I would say probably that kind of achievement would be. Um, people coming to documentation team and helping out, and really want to learn how to do that and to be successful there, and giving me feedback that The way I help them is really, really helpful. So we right now we have I I would dare to say the best documentation team we had so far,
Mhm.
and really talented, hardworking people there. And I don't know, on a kind of personal level, I would say that considering my uh, biggest challenge to consider myself as a developer, I would say that working as at XWP as engineer would be like,
Mhm.
10 years ago, even 5 years
Mhm.
ago, that was like, uh, you know, so far away and probably never happen. So amazing things are happening just all over the place. Yeah.
Absolutely. For me, I would say it's the work that it's probably the work that I do with Ali Nimmons with underrepresentedintech.com, and creating a podcast where almost every week we talk about some of the things that face different underrepresented groups in technology, and sometimes in WordPress in particular, to try to raise awareness with the things that we do and creating the database there. And then taking that the next step, which I think Laura mentioned, the WP speakers that I created a few weeks back to help connect people in the WordPress community to others to find speakers for your different events and meetups and things like that. So yeah, I think it's interesting that we can do work within make WordPress, and then we can also do projects ancillary to WordPress itself that continue to contribute to the community as a whole, which I think is pretty cool.
Hello,
I
everyone.
see. Oh, hey, Winstina, how are you? It's nice to have you
Good.
here. We were just talking about what a particular achievement in WordPress would have been for you since you started working in WordPress, and that you're particularly proud of, whether, as a woman in WordPress in particular. I don't know if you have an answer for that, or if you want me to circle back to you. Um, we have probably another 5 or 6 minutes before we get cut off for the talk. So I do have one final question, but I wanted to give you an opportunity.
I thought the talk was at 12.
Nope, we're almost over. So we started about a half an hour ago, which is fine. It's time zones are not my um, a strong suit for me. So if it's not on my calendar with an invite link, then I never know where I'm supposed to be. So no worries. But did you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do in WordPress so that people know who you are?
Okay. My name is Winstina Hughes. I am a WordPress New York City meetup organizer. I also am the founder for Support Inclusion in Tech, which is an initiative to to support underrepresented speakers, covering their travel expenses to WordCamps around the world. Yes.
I love that. That's wonderful.
Okay.
Definitely needed. Um,
Great.
it is harder sometimes to find ways to be sponsored in or to raise money to get to WordCamp. So it's very, very great initiative that you've begun. I'm grateful for you in
Yeah,
doing that.
absolutely. It's an extension of working in WordPress since I would say
Mhm.
about 2015 or so as a WordCamp organizer. Yes,
Mhm.
and so the goal is to support women and other underrepresented groups as well. And so
Fantastic.
I apologize for this. I actually thought that
No
this
worries.
all yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. We're gonna get your 2 cents in on the last couple questions here.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So my last question to all of us, and so we'll go around and kind of talk about this a little bit. But what advice would you give to the next generation of women who are joining technology and WordPress to finding their place and their foothold in the technology community, but WordPress specifically? And I don't know if
I can
anybody has an answer at the ready. Okay, Milana, thank you.
Yeah, I would like to start because I was thinking a lot of I have this internal in conflict because listening all the problems that women have around the world, and I have to say in Serbia it's different, but also on the other hand, I'm the type of person who probably didn't notice because I don't care. Uh, so I don't know, maybe it's just mix of those two. I'm raised to do what I want and to give my best, and just not to care. So my advice to anyone new would be, just don't give care. Don't give a piece of care for anything. Who you will find people that you will appreciate their opinion, but usually those people will wait for you to ask them. People who are just giving you their opinion, usually you don't care about that opinion. So just find what you like. That's really important, because you can't be good in anything you don't like. There is no logic behind that. So find what you enjoy, where you can spend hours, and just do that. And give your best and do it. And don't care about others, and what others say. Just do what you like.
I would say, following up with that, uh, don't sacrifice. I know that we sacrifice our passions and we sacrifice our goals. And I'll say to you that I've integrated, WordPress and, the work that I've done into the career that I've pursued, which is in city and regional planning. I work for a transportation agency, Department of Transportation in Maryland. And, what I can say to you is, figure out how to fit it in. I would say, if you have to work during the week and if you have a 9 to 5, like I do, and you have to take time off work, try to fit it within your lunchtime. See the little things that you can do. Don't feel like you have to do everything and be everything, to everyone in your life, and to, I think, also everyone in WordPress as well. Find where you fit in and do your best to serve within that capacity. So don't feel like you're giving too little of yourself, because a little bit can really mean the world to someone else.
Yeah.
So
Very good. Afshana, what is your advice?
So talking in perspective, talking about in perspective of Asia, especially the South Asia part, one of the reasons why we see less female in this tech field is that they don't feel comfortable. So my advice to the next gen or the females is that don't look for comfort zone. Just get in and make the place comfortable for you.
I like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Laura, I saw you unmute, so I know you have an answer too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that everybody else here has said. Milana's point has resonated with me, especially because I'm the total opposite. I overthink and I care too much, and I wish I didn't. And if I needed to hear that today, I appreciate it. So it would be exactly that. Own your space, go up, do the thing, and it doesn't matter if people like question you or don't think that you should be there, because you absolutely should. You've earned it, you deserve it, and embrace every moment of it. Show up and do the things that you want to do.
Absolutely.
I echo everything everybody has said, and I will add my 2 cents to it, which is ask questions to find the answers that you're looking for. Look for a mentor or a coach that can help you. Don't expect that everything will be handed to you for free just because so many people give of themselves so freely. I think it's important sometimes to pay for coaching or even mentorship if it's somebody that you really want to work with. But also don't expect that everybody has the time to give. So, so many of us working tirelessly have very little time left to share with others. So if somebody doesn't have the time to mentor you, it's nothing personal. But find somebody else who you can ask questions of. There are so many people who are so willing to share, answer questions, and even serve as official mentors to you that I think it's not difficult to find somebody who can shepherd you a little bit on your journey. And also, if you do have time, don't be afraid to help other people along the way. That I love the idea that it's not a pie. We're not cutting up pieces and then it's gone. It's more like lighting candles. And when you light somebody else's candle, your candle stays lit as well. So don't be afraid to share, thinking that it's going to rob you of something that you have to give as well, because it actually just spreads the ability for others to join us. We do have just a couple minutes left, so I do want to give everybody an opportunity to, what did you want to say today that I didn't ask a question about? Is there something you'd like to contribute, some advice or an accomplishment or anything that you would want to share that we haven't mentioned? Because that's my least favorite thing, is that it ends and I didn't get to say something I really wanted to say. So the floor is open. Who would like to contribute something?
Since I came a little late, can I ask
Absolutely.
someone's favorite question that I that I missed? What was your favorite question that was asked?
So probably, I think one of the first ones was like, what were some of the challenges that you might have faced getting to where you are today in WordPress? I don't know if that was anybody else's favorite, but I like to hear some of those things. Overcoming adversity is always inspirational.
Overcoming adversity. I would say that when I started in the WordPress community, I was one of the few women of color that was visible within the space in New York City. Especially, I was, really invited into our community to represent that aspect of what many felt was needed in our community. And I think that over time, there's just a love and appreciation that we have for each other as women, that it doesn't matter, if you're a woman of color or, or if you're, a woman that doesn't like fit into, certain parameters. We celebrate each other. And I think that in the process of that celebration, all of us are rising from it. And so I think that the desire to incorporate us, I know like Kathy Druin said to my mom at one of the first word camps that she was looking forward to, having more women of color be a part of the community. And that's about close to 10 years ago, I'd like to say. And so look at what we've achieved in, 20 years of WordPress and where we are in 2023.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
What about you, Laura? Any last parting thoughts today?
I just keep going, keep questioning, keep pushing. Keep showing up and doing what we do best. It's the only way we can continue to make a difference. There's still a lot of work to do, and that can get really frustrating at times. And I know I've certainly felt like, why, like, what's the point? Like, why do I bother sort of continuing to push this when it feels like no one's listening? But there's always someone listening, and it might not be the person who answers back, but they're there, and you might be having a really great impact on them and inspiring them to go and do something. You just don't realize it.
I like that a lot.
Great.
Yeah. Milana, what are your final thoughts today?
Well, I would like to share my general thought about joining open source and what would be the reason. I see people joining, to give back, and then burned out, and it all happens a lot. And I managed to stay this long in open source because I'm selfish. I came for my own knowledge, and I'm still here for my own knowledge. And I would, advise everyone to just to have themselves on the first place, because once you're in and you start, existing in a system, you will eventually help other people, or you will just leave. So the system and the project will exist without you, with or without you. It doesn't matter. But as long as you are doing it for yourself, not for your job or salary or for other people. And the most dangerous thought is, well, if I don't do it, nobody else will. No, that will bring you to a very bad place. So just do it for yourself, get all the knowledge you can, and you can get so much knowledge in WordPress community. And I'm still getting it, and I'm still here because I'm still getting it. So that's also my reason why I'm in documentation, because as a developer, I learn the fastest that way. So I don't know, that would be my general thought. Just join to improve yourself, and you will improve yourself on all levels, not just that one.
I like that. Afshana, What are your final thoughts?
So, what Milana was saying, I actually don't talk much about burnout. Reason why my community is just starting the contribution, so I don't want to make them scared. Rather, I spread them to contribute more. In WordCamp Select this weekend, I joined a panel discussion about WordPress contribution and how people can get started. So one thing I told there, and I also want to share for others, is like um, for a lot of people who are watching this webinar or just started with their career or WordPress community, how about we start for little contribution, which will make the community stronger because you get connected with the community when you start contributing. You can see it as a contribution giveaway, but for the starting point, you actually getting the knowledges you need. So when you are contributing, you are learning a lot. So it's important to start, even if it's very small. I proudly I can share that if you started contributing to the community, a lot of people surrounded by you, they will be also inspired to contribute, and in that way you guys can get connected and share the knowledges. For example, I heard a lot of people who were suffering, who were facing a lot of problem for documentations, for um, development. They got the help from community people uh, who were just a teammate or who they made on online from WordPress Slack. So start contributing for your own good, and that's how you can help the community as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Stina, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts. I would say that I am excited for what the next 20 years will bring.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is just the beginning. I think that from what I see, we're at a place where participation is becoming truly open to everyone. You know, this conversation is an example of that. We're in different continents. I'm in the U.S. I'd be curious, what are the different continents that we're in?
Yeah, so
Asia.
Laura's, yeah,
Oh,
Asia,
everyone.
Europe, and the United States.
We all said that at once. Yeah. So I mean, I think, full inclusion is where we're at, and I
Mm-hmm.
think the fifth freedom is full inclusion. And so I'm really looking forward to what, you know, um, the possibilities and what
Mm-hmm.
we'll see in 20 years. Absolutely.
Yeah. And my final thoughts are going to piggyback on all of you to say that you matter more than your individual contributions. So, talking about burnout, talking about my advice to everybody is always that your mental health and your well-being and your physical health always comes first,
Absolutely.
and that there is no requirement that any one of us feel like they need to inspire and lead, and that if you feel the need to take a break and step back, that that is 100% um, not only I'm approving it right now for all of you that we have to guard our own mental health and our own physical well-being, and that it's okay to do what you need to restore yourself and move forward in your own path, whether you inspire others at the same time or not. So I want to thank you all so much, Laura, Milana, Afshana, Winstina. Thank you so much for being here today. And of course, I want to thank Cloudways for giving us the ability today to talk about what we do in WordPress and maybe to inspire a few others as we have been here today. And also to remind anybody who's watching today too, that this whole week, Cloudways is bringing us webinars and talks that celebrate 20 years of WordPress with some of the most they say some of the best people in the WordPress community. Being the person to say that as we are on the stage right now feels a little self-serving, but I have seen some of the lineup for this week, and I'm inspired by so many of the people that are here. So thank you all so much for being here today, and for all that you do in WordPress and for the women in WordPress community. And thank you again to Cloudways for having us.
Thank you, Cloudways. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.